All right, guys, we are strolling through Hampstead Village, also known as East Side, here in downtown Charleston. And we're going to take you guys through an area today that I really feel like is up and coming, and a place that if I was going to buy in downtown Charleston and had, a budget that I was trying to, stay under a certain, probably $300,000 or $400,000, this is a great place to check out. Hampstead Village was originally known as Austin's Fields. It was just a farm right outside the city of Charleston. It's named after Hampstead Village in London. And the growth of the area, Carey, tell us a little bit about that. It was kind of stunted by two wars.
They had started the neighborhood 140 half-acre lots in the early, mid-1700s, and then when the Revolutionary War hit, in order to thwart the British from coming into the city, they burned down the neighborhood. And so they actually had to do that again during the War of 1812. And they didn't really get started on the development of this neighborhood until the mid-1800s. And the neighborhood itself is actually bounded by basically the Cooper River or East Bay Street on the east, to the west, King Street, and then over to the south, all the way over to South Street, and then Cooper Street to the north. Pretty nice sized little neighborhood back here, close to the Ravenel Bridge.
All right, guys, so we are strolling through the East Bay side of Hampstead Village. The Cigar Factory is over to our left, and Cigar Factory originally built in 1881 as a cotton manufacturing facility. In the early 1900s, the American Cigar Company bought the building, ran it in that capacity for probably about 75 years. And then in the 1980s, after it sat vacant for a little while, the famous Johnson & Wales Culinary Institute was set up here, and it ran for about 26 years until about 2006, and they went to Charlotte. They had planned to make this, originally it was going to be some retail and some live space. That kind of got changed when the economy fell apart in 2008, set vacant, and over the last couple of years, they've kind of got it rolling. It's a very beautiful building.
Yeah, so, it's a mixed-use building, so it has condos on the top floors, and then, several different businesses on the bottom. Fritz Porter, there's a bank, and then of course Mercantile and Mash is a bar, but it's also a coffee bar, and they have really good lunches, and you can kind of pop in for snacks and stuff, which is really great for the people that live here because they can just run down and grab something to eat whenever they want. And plus, it's a great place. I've eaten lunch there several times, and it's really good.
All right, guys, so we have made it our way down East Bay Street from the Cigar Factory, and we're walking down Amherst Street, right past to Amherst Street. Carey is going to tell you guys a little bit about it.
So this house is actually called Préquille, which is French for the peninsula, because when the house was built between 1802 and 1808, that little piece of land that the house sits on was actually sitting on a peninsula at the time. It was a small peninsula that jutted out into the marsh. So it was designed in the Adamesque style of architecture. Adamesque is a style of architecture we see around Charleston. It was actually named for the brothers Adams, who were Scottish brothers who designed architecture over in Great Britain. They basically designed their architecture in the neoclassical style of architecture. And so this is an example of something that they may have designed or would have designed.
We're walking past St. John's Episcopal Church.
So this church was actually founded in 1839 by Paul Trappier. He was a missionary, and he founded it as basically a mission church. And the reason it was deemed a mission church was because typically in Charleston in the 19th and also the 18th centuries, people had to actually pay for a seat in church. So you actually rented your pews. And this church was one of the first free churches in Charleston. The building itself was finally completed in 1840. But what's really cool about it is some of the older graves date all the way back to 1835. So the grave sites predate the actual church building itself. Okay, so now we're walking in front of the Palmer campus of Trident Technical College, and Bob's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Trident Tech was originally known as Palmer College until 1973, when it was changed to Trident Technical College. The campus we're walking past right now is a student body of about 2,000 students. The majority of kids that go to Trident Technical College are in North Charleston, so they have a bigger campus out there. This is the area where I actually started my college career in Charleston. I took a number of classes at this campus. And it's an area that, if you are a student, you want to walk to class, very affordable housing, I think, that you could get your kids to live in, or if you're already grown up and paying your own bills. It'd be a great place to consider investing because, again, we're within walking distance to a lot of things here in Hampstead Village and Trident Technical College. Busy East Bay Street behind us, and we're strolling past 729 East Bay Street. Carey's going to give you guys a little background on it.
This house was known as the Josiah Smith Tennent house, built in 1859, and it was actually, Josiah Smith Tennent was a provost marshal in the Confederate Army during the war between the states. And during the war, it was actually converted into a Confederate hospital, also known as the Soldiers' Relief Home.
So I know many of you, it's important as to what's around you if you're potentially buying an area. Hampstead Village, I think, is in an ideal location. From a restaurant standpoint, you've got Taco Boy up the street, which is kind of a really cool, eclectic taco place, high decimal level, good place to take kids, but it also has a nice outdoor bar so you can go without kids. And Josiah's Pizza's up there. Also, another area that's really hot is Upper King Street. You've got a lot of things going on around you. It's easy to get off the peninsula from here, so it's a great area to consider if you want to be in downtown Charleston and you don't want to pay top dollar.
So now we are walking down Hamden Court, and we are headed to 6 Hamden Court, where we're going to talk to my friend Nic Butler. He actually has been recently in the process of building a house here in Hampstead Village, and he's going to give us some history and information about what it's like to build a home in Charleston. What do you like about the neighborhood? Tell us a little bit more about Hampstead Village.
This neighborhood is a really...
Because it's little known, it's not a very well known...
And it's a fairly quiet, it's a residential neighborhood, so it's away from the din of the tourism industry for now, you know, for the moment. And I really didn't know anything about the history of this area, except when you read about the newspaper, this is the east side. But it turns out that this area was a village and has a proper name, Hampstead Village. And the village was created as a real estate development venture in 1769. Before the American Revolution, this was about a mile outside of the city limits. And it's a suburb. It's the first real successful suburb development outside of Charleston. And there were houses built here before the Revolution, but during the Revolution, the Americans are on this side and the British are on this side, and Hampstead is right in the middle. And so the American Army ordered the houses in Hampstead to be burnt because they're blocking the view of the enemy. So after the Revolution, people are rebuilding and they're petitioning the General Assembly for repayment for destroying their houses, and people slowly start rebuilding. And then during the War of 1812, Charlestonians thought that the British were going to be attacking again in much the same way. So the Charlestonians erected a line of fortifications from the Ashley River to the Cooper River and displaced a lot of houses in this neighborhood. By the time they finished them, the war was over, and they just languished until the late 1820s. And then late 1820s, 1830s, people began building anew in this area.
So this home is actually a brand new home.
Right.
Which is rare for downtown Charleston, obviously. Can you fill us in a little bit on the process? And I'll kind of let you...
So just walking around the neighborhood, found this lot, just walking around, I thought, well, this is a good sized lot. It would be good for starting from scratch. From breaking ground to getting the certificate of occupancy was 24 weeks.
Wow, yeah.
And that's pretty fast for, basically it's a custom built house, even though it's an area that's not as affluent as South Abroad. This is still part of the historic district. So everything we had to do had to go before the Board of Architectural Review. So it's definitely a process you have to educate yourself about. So I had to go and make a formal presentation to the Board of Architectural Review, and they said, well, you're ready, this will probably get passed, don't worry about it. I wanted to design a house. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get this vacant lot. I wanted to design a house, and I wanted to do something that was in keeping with the spirit of a Charleston single house. If you see a lot of single houses around Charleston now, you'll notice that in the 19th and 20th century, things were added on. So they have bump outs and L's, and they're not rectangular boxes anymore. So we really wanted to have just a plain vanilla rectangular box. On the inside, we in trying to keep with 18th century kind of styles. We have painted all the walls white, kind of actually a whitewash kind of white, because paint was expensive until the mid 20th century, so everybody whitewashed their walls and painted the trim. You used
That's so cool.
So we have a different color trim in every room, and we kind of restricted ourselves to a historic palette. You'll see a lot of 19th and 20th century Charleston style houses that have lots of little windows. But in reality, most colonial or 18th century buildings have fewer number of larger windows, and that's really what we tried to go with here. And so we have wooden windows because that's required in the historic district.
Well, Nic, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
my
really
pleasure.
appreciate your time, and it's good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Yeah.